Hey everyone, Emily Kaplan with ESPN. We're just 1 month away from the NHL trade deadline. Phone calls around the league are intensifying, and my phones are too because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I've been talking to a bunch of folks, sources in front offices, agents, players, you name it. And here are some of the things that I'm hearing about bubble teams that don't quite know which direction they're going in. I'm going to start with the Buffalo Sabres. And out of the three teams I talk about, unfortunately, they're in the worst position. They're not going to make the playoffs. Their playoff drought is going to continue. And it's another season just derailed by injuries and bad luck. They were decimated. Losing Tage Thompson for a chunk of time is not ideal at all after his breakout year last year. Then a player like Jack Quinn, you lose him to begin with, you get him back, it's super exciting. And then when he's out again, it's just absolutely brutal. So teams around the league are calling Kevyn Adams, figuring out what is he going to do. And Kevyn Adams, the GM himself, is trying to figure out what he wants to do. As far as pending UFAs, I'm not sure there's many players of serious interest around the league that are going to give Buffalo a ton of assets back. I think the player that's generating maybe the most interest is Erik Johnson, the defenseman, longtime Avs guy, won the Stanley Cup with them finally, signed as a free agent this year in Buffalo. And as hard as he plays, you know that he can play playoff hockey. It hasn't been the best season for him. I think they could probably get like a mid-draft pick for him. But Kevyn Adams needs to talk to EJ as well as his agent Pat Brisson and figure out what direction they're going to go in there. But he's a player that potentially could be in play. Victor Olofsson, very streaky scorer, a winger. He's been on the market for Buffalo for a while now. They've been trying to shop him, and they really haven't garnered much interest. Again, just a little bit too inconsistent as a player, but someone that maybe a team takes a flyer on for a mid-late round pick at this point. Kevyn Adams really wants to shake things up. He can look at his pending RFAs or a hockey trade. Pending RFAs on this team include Casey Mittelstadt, Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen, Henri Jokiharju, Peyton Krebs. I just don't see them moving one of these guys in mid-season. Just Kevyn Adams has exercised so much patience in his time as a general manager. He doesn't want to stray from the course. He really believes in the program that he's building, the culture that he and Don Granato have set forward. But also, those type of moves typically get more return if you do them over the summer when you have the entire league engaged. So if they are looking for a massive roster shakeup, I would expect that to happen more over the draft rather than the next few weeks ahead of the trade deadline. So my gut tells me Buffalo is going to be pretty quiet over these next few weeks. The Detroit Red Wings, one of the most exciting teams for me to watch this season. They've taken such a big step forward in their rebuild. The fact that Patrick Kane shows them when the entire league, when Vegas is rolling out the red carpet for him, Boston say he can come play with David Pastrnak, and he picks the Detroit Red Wings, that says something about where your program is. I've talked to their coach, Derek Lalonde, about what a gut punch it has been for the players these last few years when Steve Yzerman once again and again is just selling off assets and telling their best buds and their players they have to leave. Last year, it just crushed the guys when Tyler Bertuzzi was sent to Boston. And this year, they finally got that shot in the arm with Patrick Kane. I don't think Steve Yzerman is going to give them another massive shot in the arm. I think in his grand scheme of things, he'd like for them to make the playoffs. It's very important for them, but building something sustainable and doing this the right way is even more important. So I don't think they're going to be in the market for like rental players per se, maybe some depth adds. Something interesting to keep an eye on though is I keep hearing David Perron's name out there as a potential player that the Red Wings could move. And again, I don't think that they're going to have the massive sell-off that they've had in years past. The players and the coaching staff have done well enough to deserve to see it through with this group. But Steve Yzerman can be kind of ruthless as a GM. This is a guy on a pending UFA contract. If there's value out there, if someone's going to give them good value, maybe he moves. That's a possibility. And finally, we have to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers, who were such a surprise this first half of the year. We know they wanted to rebuild. They were designed to be bad. John Tortorella signed up for this to build them the right way. And lo and behold, for the first half of the season, they were in a playoff spot and playing really good hockey. And conventional wisdom tells you that you should be adding to your group if that's the case. And you shouldn't be selling off players. But as I've been talking to people around the league, all I keep hearing about GM Danny Briere and their brain trust, Keith Jones and John Tortorella is involved in some of those hockey operations decisions, is that they're open to anything and they're fielding calls about anything that possibly could happen. So What does that mean? I think that Scott Lawton, they don't want to move him, but if someone's going to give them a really ridiculous offer that they cannot refuse, potentially they move him. I think they're thinking about a Morgan Frost type player. Their number one asset, though, the player that they're trying to get a number one first round pick for, and I think they probably have a good shot, is Sean Walker, the defenseman. It's kind of a weak defensive market now. Everyone's waiting to see where Chris Tanev goes. Sean Walker potentially could get a first round pick for the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think they would take it. Now, why would you take this stance if your team, again, has overachieved in expectations? Well, it's one step backwards for many step forwards. They're trying to build a sustainable way as well. They've galvanized the fan base. It's all going to be really good in Philadelphia in a couple years now. They're building this the right way. But I think they're preparing for a drop-off in the second half. They know what they've built in the first half isn't quite sustainable. They're now without Carter Hart. He's been charged with sexual assault regarding the 2018 Hockey Canada Juniors case. He's going to be not with this team for the foreseeable future, not in the NHL for the foreseeable future. I think their play is going to drop off. So the Philadelphia Flyers are taking calls on absolutely everyone. We'll see if they're able to recoup some value. Okay, that's what I'm hearing about a couple of the bubble teams. I'm going to keep you posted on this YouTube page, all of our ESPN platforms over the next several weeks, heading up to March 8th. It's going to be an exciting deadline. People keep saying, oh no, this year, the stagnant salary cap, too many teams mucked in the middle. No, I think there's going to be player movement. I think things are going to happen. We already got a couple trades early. I think it's going to pick up. We'll keep you posted. Cheers.